Friday night to all of you out there celebrating the kickoff of the NFL season. We're going a little bit early so we can watch the Packers and Eagles in Brazil. Welcome into another episode of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Jacob, Mr. Two Sleeps, Casey Kinnaman, and Nick Carnes down below. We're brought to you, as always, by our friends over at SeatGeek. It's time, man. Get those tickets if you haven't gotten them already, and get your game tickets over at SeatGeek. Use our promo code Barking Browns, all one word, all capital. Get $20 off your first purchase. If you're checking us out anywhere but YouTube, please consider going to the YouTube, youtube.com/@thebarkingbrowns. Hit that subscribe button, give us a little thumbs up, and help us out immensely. Gentlemen, how are we?
Fantastic. Man, we're so close. We're at the doorsteps of the vortex, man. Two sleeps. And it's going to be a long Sunday. Let's be real, just because we don't kick off till 4:25. So, but whatever. I'll take it. We got football. We got NFL football coming, I think, at 8:15 tonight. Mm-hmm. And obviously, it'll be all day Sunday leading up to our game. So, I couldn't be better.
The Baltimore Ravens are winless. I love it here. God, by a toe. What a delicious, wonderful kickoff to the NFL season. Nothing could make me happier. Maybe the Steelers losing.
I'm telling you right now, if I was a Ravens fan last night, and as soon as I would have saw that replay, my fist would have went right through the TV. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I have never seen a catch like that so close. Yeah. I mean, Casey, we talked about it earlier, and you mentioned that you weren't even looking at your feet. You were just making sure he completed the actual catch.
Yeah.
And I thought, at least from the angle I saw, that he was in significantly. I was like, oh, he's in. Like, he got both feet down, because I only saw the 1 foot, which was in. And then I see the replay, and I'm like, oh, that was a wild way to start the NFL season.
Just a final note. I have started Terminator again, and I am wonderful. And now we are officially, I finished my work day today, and we're officially to NFL football weekend. And I love Friday football. I love it. And last thing, I saw a rumor that the Browns, the NFL, may be looking to start the season on Labor Day weekend and play football all weekend long. And that would be like my dream.
Yeah, they've just taken over. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Obviously, it was because when we were younger growing up, man, there wasn't Thursday night football. It was just, you played on Sunday and you had that one game on Monday night, and then now it's Thursday, and now they're doing it Friday night. I know there's like a national law where they can't broadcast a game 400 miles within where there's a high school game on Fridays. Mm-hmm. And so they went to Brazil where there's no high school game on Fridays. So like they don't care. Goodell cannot be stopped.
I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's like from like the 40s. Like that's the reason. Yeah. Same thing. They can't play on Saturdays until college football's over.
Right. So just keep going. They're building fan bases in Germany. They're playing in Germany and in England and wherever else. Let's go to some more countries and let's keep finding loopholes. And because I just saw right before we went live that the Ravens Chiefs game was the highest viewed NFL opener that they've ever had, just under 30 million viewers, which is the NFL owns everything, man.
Dang.
NFL owns everything.
Dang.
It's ridiculous. Well, let's do it, man. Like, it's week 1, so it's time. Let's dive.
Yeah. So if you rock with us, you know who our guest is tonight. We look for any excuse we can to get the guy on, but the reality of the situation is if we're going to talk Browns and Cowboys, we couldn't find a more educated person to speak on it than this guy. And this is the guy that gave me and Jacob our starts as a writer. So we're pumped to have him. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Randy Gurzi.
Yay!
Hey, what's up, guys? What's going on?
Getting pumped.
How you doing tonight, Randy?
I'm doing all right, Nick. Just ready to talk some football. I'm glad that it's finally here. I'm probably in the minority. I hate the Labor Day idea, but that's just because I typically spend Labor Day at the beach, and is my one last long weekend before I start. I mean, obviously we write all throughout the off season and everything, but it definitely ramps into gear once the season starts. So I love having that little break, but I understand why they're doing it or why they're considering it. I'm good with having Labor Day off. Also, my son's birthday is typically on Labor Day, so it's kind of nice to do all that and then dive in. But hey,
Money trumps all.
It does. So if they do it, we adjust and move on.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's talk about the game. So this will be the 33rd meeting between the Cowboys and Browns. The previous 32, which 32 is a great number. The Browns are ahead in the all-time series 18-14. And that includes a game in 2020, the last time they played. It feels like a fever dream when I talk about it, where the Browns stormed ahead and then the Cowboys rallied late and made it competitive. But like, there's OBJ is probably the best game he had as a Brown. This game ended up 49-38. There is a play, and Randy will love this, his favorite player. So it's a double reverse, and Jarvis Landry throws what I can only
Cleveland
describe.
Browns player of all time.
He throws what I can only describe as a blistering piss missile to OBJ. OBJ catches one from Baker, and then a 50-yard reverse, improbable to be the backbreaker late in the fourth quarter. So, and then you hear that like, the Browns are ahead 18-14 in the all-time series. When you consider that the Browns won the first 11 of 12 in this matchup,
Wow.
it doesn't seem like it's going too well. But at least they got the last one. So that's where we're at in the all-time series. And the 33rd matchup will be 425, America's Game of the Week. It'll be Tom Brady's first game as an analyst. There's going to be every eye you can get on it. If you look at the TV map of America, it's going to be like 98% of America watching this game. So,
injury report. I got the injury report. The Browns. Hey, listen, the Browns only had to give out 2 designations this week, and that is a victory. That is a victory in and of itself. Jed's out this week, something we kind of thought, especially when he first practiced a couple of days ago. It was very clear he was limited, and they were kind of trying to go through some of the walkthrough style stuff. Had a really big brace on, so you were hoping he doesn't play with that brace. So in Jack Conklin, questionable. Jack practiced limited all week, but he did practice all 3 days on a limited basis. I think he starts over there, but I would be I feel like you're going to see a rotation a little bit. Like he may get a series or so here off, and then depending on if Hudson gets Deshaun killed or not, Jack will get back on the field sooner than that. Outside of that, Jordan Hicks, Maurice Hurst, Jerry Jeudy, Quentin Jefferson, JOK were all full practice today on the no designation. Dalvin was limited, no designation, a full participant for Nathaniel Watson. And Alex Wright has an elbow injury, but he was a full participant all week. On the Cowboys end, you're only looking at their tight end with Stevens with a hamstring injury. He's the only one with a designation. He's out. Everyone else that is on their injury report practiced in full all week. So,
I think healthy
for both sides.
The highlight of that is probably that when we were early in camp, Dalvin Tomlinson and Greg Newsome both had injuries, and we were wondering about their availability for this game. And now it looks like they're both going to be out there, which I think is a really big thing for the Browns.
I just realized Newsome's not even on there,
which is
strange,
at all. Right?
I mean, do we ever have any doubts?
It did seem for a while like there was a shot he might go to PUP or something. They were very vague on like the severity of it, but then it was just everything was fine. So.
Well, so everyone watching this knows how the vibes around the Browns. So, Randy, you tell me how do the Cowboys fan base? How do they feel about this matchup?
I think they feel pretty confident. I know they're not completely naive. They understand that you have 4 rookies starting, so you know that there's definitely a concern there. I think they feel a whole lot better if Deron Bland didn't have the foot surgery. You have 3 good receivers, even though I think Amari Cooper's a true number 1, and then you have 4 really. I think that Jerry Jeudy's a decent number 2, and then I think you can intermix Elijah Moore, Cedric Moore as your wide receiver, or Cedric Tillman as your wide receiver 3. So you got a lot of receivers to worry about, and I think if you had Jordan Lewis, Trevon Diggs, Deron Bland, you feel really confident in that. But Kalen Carson, 5th round pick from Wake Forest, he's really good. He's he had no business falling around 5. It's still a lot, first game, first start. So, there's that issue there. There's been a lot more being made up of the, Tyler Guyton going up in his first start against Myles Garrett. Obviously, that's a concern. But if I'm being honest, I'd be much more concerned about James Hudson dealing with Micah Parsons. Tyler Guyton's got the talent. He's got everything. I really just don't think either one of these teams is going to be too intelligent if they go out there and think that they can just block their, Parsons, Garrett one-on-one. They're gonna have to have a plan for that. So, if the Cowboys go out there and say, hey, Guyton, go out there, block Garrett one-on-one, then they deserve what's coming. But I don't think that's going to be the case. But, I think the biggest concern, all that being said, people are going to talk about the rookie center or the rookie left tackle. You got rookie linebacker, rookie cornerback. But I think the big concern is going to be the ground game. What you're going to get from Dak Prescott. Grant Delpit was talking about it today about how good he is, how much he can test teams, his completion percentage, how hard he is to defend, which I know that flies in the face of, the Dak sucks crowd. But guys who actually play the game know that he's good. And, he's good. CeeDee Lamb's good. Jake Ferguson's a beast. But if they don't have a run game and all you're doing is having to sit there and try to keep Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, and all of them back, that's going to become the problem. So, I think Rico Dowdle is going to be the everyone's going to talk about Zeke, but Zeke's he's a short yardage guy. He's what Kareem Hunt was for the Browns last year. So I think it's all going to come down to what Rico Dowdle can do.
Okay, well let's focus on that matchup real quick over there on the left tackle, trying to at least slow down Myles Garrett. So
yeah,
we talked about Guyton. He's got every single tool that you'll look for in a first-round offensive tackle. Kind of viewed as a raw prospect, but he's been getting to see Micah Parsons in training camp. He went up against Max Crosby in a preseason game. I'm not saying he's ready for Myles Garrett because no one is.
No.
But so when I view what they're going to have to send over there, you look at Jake Ferguson, Schoonmaker, even Zeke. This is an area where Zeke could be helpful, just being a chip blocker. What do you think the plan will be to supplement what Guyton has to do?
I think, that's another area of Zeke's game that is really underrated. I know his last snap in Dallas, he played center. And part of his body is still on the turf from that play. So I don't think they'll put him at center. But he is really, really good at helping to pick up the blitz. But you're absolutely right. You're not going to stop Myles Garrett. All you're going to try to do is slow him down. Dak's mobile. He's not the runner he used to be, but you're going to want to move him a bit in the pocket. Another guy to watch for is Brevin Spann-Ford. Their undrafted rookie tight end. He's 6'7", 270 pounds. He's basically
from Minnesota, I believe, right?
That's right, Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
So you got, Ferguson, Schoonmaker, even Stevens, who's injured. These are more the pass catching tight ends. Schoonmaker maybe a little bit of a better blocker, but he's always hurt. But Spann-Ford's there because of his size. That's why he made this team. He's that guy that can come out there and kind of be that extra blocker. So I think they may have packages where they're going to put him out there if it starts to become a problem. But I think you're going to see Rico Dowdle is pretty good with the blitz pickup as well. The one thing that, and this goes for both teams, the one thing that they have going for them, even though you're going up again, you're unsure of what's going on with your offensive line, whether it's Jack Conklin playing left tackle the first time since 2017 or Tyler Guyton's first start, at least they're able to go and practice against an absolute beast. So, Guyton going up against Micah Parsons is probably the best you can have getting prepared for Garrett and vice versa. Going up against Garrett is probably the best you could have from going from Micah Parsons because they're both just dynamic with speed, power, everything. So I think they're both going to try to be prepared for that. But both, like you said, you're not stopping Garrett. Garrett's going to impact the game. And even if they sit there and they slow Garrett down and he doesn't get a lot of sacks, that's going to open things up for other people because you're going to be so heavily focused on him.
Randy, you said something that was interesting to me because you seemed really confident that Rico Dowdle is going to lead the Cowboys backfield. Mm-hmm. And as an avid fantasy player, I've seen the discussion around the Cowboys backfield has been one of the more cloudy ones this entire offseason. So I'm just curious, what makes you so confident that Rico Dowdle is going to be the lead back? And if because I saw Mike McCarthy say that they're going to emphasize the run. They're going to look to establish it. Very Mike McCarthy. So okay, so let's assume, well, what makes you so confident Rico Dowdle is going to lead backfield, and how do you feel about that going into this game?
Well, last year he had about a little over 500 yards from scrimmage, and I think it was 4 or 5 total touchdowns. His one hang up throughout his entire career has always been injuries. He was great at South Carolina, but dealt with injuries. He missed a year early in his career because of injuries. He's always just been a very underrated back. But when he's gotten the chance, he's been able to shine. And in that same interview or press conference when Mike McCarthy was talking, he didn't spend a lot of time talking about Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, any of these guys. He talked about Rico Dowdle and what he can do. One thing people always make a mistake on with the Dallas Cowboys is that they listen to Jerry Jones. Whatever Jerry Jones is saying is the absolute opposite of what they're going to do. He is trying to get eyes on the team. He's going to say stuff. I mean, Dak Prescott said the other day, I don't listen to anything Jerry Jones says to the media. And people thought, oh, he hates Jerry Jones. Like, no, he doesn't hate Jerry Jones. He's telling you everything he's telling you is bullshit. He's not telling the media the truth. He's getting attention. He just wants you to talk about him. So he's going to talk about Ezekiel Elliott. That's a name. People know that name. But Mike McCarthy's talking to you about Rico Dowdle. He's telling you that that's the guy that they believe in. And I really think, yeah, they may start Elliott. They may put him out there, but I think Dowdle's going to be the guy that gets the majority of the carries. And when you kind of see that, hey, he can actually move the chains, in the end, Mike McCarthy's the one putting him on the field, not Jerry Jones, I always tell people if Jerry Jones really was the GM, like everybody thinks he is, they would probably have Johnny Manziel playing quarterback with Paxton Lynch backing him up. So everything that he says they're going to do, they don't do it, but nobody really catches on to that.
Okay, so let's look the other side now. Randy's like, nope, we're not doing this.
Yep.
All right. So we don't even know who's going out for left tackle. But we know it's either going to be Hudson or Conklin. Who are the players you think will play the biggest factor aside from them in helping slow down Micah Parsons? Because the Browns don't have a blocking tight end outside of David Njoku.
Are you ready for this answer? You ready for this? Here's the interesting thing. We'll bring Randy back on here. Here's the interesting.
There we go. I'm back.
I was looking at when I put out my fantasy stardom setup for the OBR yesterday. I was like, yeah, sit Deshaun Watson, and part of the reason I say sit Deshaun Watson is I'm just concerned about that left tackle position. I'm concerned, and I think that I still believe the Browns will win this game, but I don't think he's going to put up some gaudy fantasy numbers or anything like that. And I think part of that's going to come from I think that they're going to need some turnovers. But the one guy that I think really matters a ton in terms of there's a video. Fuck, I'm not supposed to say that out loud, am I?
No. You can.
What is?
It's not porn.
What is it?
I just at some point. You ain't gonna do it right
now. You better. That better not be that fucking clip.
Keep going. Keep going with your point, though.
Oh no. It's Friday night. I've been into the adult beverages, and they're kicking in. This show is quickly going off the rails.
We start off the rails, and we don't have to worry about that happening.
Boom. My man gets it.
David Njoku. David Njoku, I think, matters not just as a blocker, but what he can do in the quick game to turn it into explosive plays. Like, you may see situations where, and I thought he did a lot of damage, like in this position last year, where he hits the chip or the delayed block where he blocks for a second or two and then runs a delayed route and slips back behind, the defense and nobody sees him there, that sort of thing. I think that going well is a big part of neutralizing the Cowboys pass rush. Because I don't think it's just Micah Parsons. I'm not naive to be like, oh, it's just Micah Parsons and some other. That's not what you have. That's just like saying bad things about MJ Emerson or something. But it's the same thing. You see what you get it.
I get it.
No, I think David Njoku's role as a short, explosive yards after catch kind of guy will go a long way. And once that some of them play action and delayed releases kind of slow down that pass rush, that's when I think the run game's got to take some pressure off of Watson.
Let's talk about those other pass rushers Dallas has. Randy, outside of Micah Parsons, which he's going to get all the headlines. Right. And for a long time, we dealt with Myles Garrett being a one-man band, and they finally got, some decent accompanying players around him. Who are the guys outside of Micah Parsons that the Browns need to worry about in the pass rush?
One thing that I don't think the Cowboys get enough credit for is their drafting, and they constantly set themselves up. Like, there was a lot of talk about, Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler leaving in free agency. Well, that was always the plan, and their number 2 pass rusher was going to be Sam Williams. He had 8.5 sacks over the last 2 years, but he tore his ACL. So that's a huge loss for Dallas. I think if he's out there, it's he's 260 pounds and ran a 4.4. I mean, they use him as a gunner on the punt team. The guy is, he's just an athletic freak. And so they're ready to kind of feature him, but then the torn ACL kind of screwed that up. So, one name that gets forgotten a lot is DeMarcus Lawrence. still an absolute beast. He doesn't put up tons of sacks, but he is one of the tops in the NFL. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Jadeveon Clowney, the way he was, where he's just always back there in the backfield. You know, he's a game disruptor. He's probably one of the best run defenders on the defensive ends in the NFL. But then you also have Marshawn Kneeland, who, you know, was Western Michigan. He was pretty raw. They were wanting him to kind of sit behind Sam Williams, kind of have that role for a couple of years, but he was pushed into action. He looked phenomenal in the preseason. So he's somebody that, you know, could make an impact. They also picked up, you know, they have Carl Lawson on the practice squad. They have also Odigizua, their 3 tech. He's another one of those really highly underrated players. He's probably going to break the bank in the free agency next year, because, you know, Dallas isn't going to pay him. So, you know, those are some guys to watch for. Chauncey Golston can give them a little bit from the 3 tech as well as a backup, but I think the main ones you're going to watch for outside of Parsons would be Lawrence, Kneeland, and Odigizua.
Anybody got anything for me?
What?
Anybody got any questions?
Well, I can ask a question. I just thought Nick was going to go next.
I thought you were going to ask a question. I'm sorry.
I saw the stalemate happen, and that's the reason I'm trying to.
Yeah, we're off the. Jacob, go ahead.
All right. What the fuck is this? Hold on.
Don't be a dick pic. Don't be a dick pic. Don't be a dick pic.
All right.
It probably is.
It's probably a dick pic.
It is.
It's prepping it. Oh.
This better not be what I think it is. Oh.
I'm terrible at reading lips.
What this? Oh, it's all the way
You
down.
like we do like whose line is it anyway?
We could.
One of us each pick a person, and we just do the.
Hey,
the
Jimmy. Yeah.
If there is a weak spot in that defense, it probably is Emerson Jr.
All right.
He's probably the one guy that kind of, if you're going to pick on somebody.
Yeah.
Is that Jesse Hawley? I can't see. If that is, that's probably one of the worst takes I've ever heard him say.
It's up there, right? It's got to be up there.
Look, guys, don't get me wrong, because I really like Denzel Ward. I really do. I think he's a fantastic cornerback. But there are times that the best corner on that team is Martin Emerson. I mean, you know, and I'm not saying that to undersell anybody else on that team. It's just that guy is an absolute badass. And I think he's getting better every game. I don't know who could actually watch the Browns and say that that's a weak link in the secondary.
It's like that's like me going, you know, I think a weak link on the Cowboys' offensive line is Tyler Smith.
Yeah, go right after that left guard, the All-Pro. The key sucks.
Yeah, screw that guy.
It's almost as bad as Roquan Smith saying that they wanted to take the run game away and force Mahomes to beat them with the pass. You know, that might have been the dumbest thing I've ever heard anybody say in my life. You know, so that's kind of along the lines there. You know, I don't want to sit here and bash Greg Newsome forever, but to me, that's the weak link. If you're going to attack anybody in the secondary, I think he's the guy that you go after. You know, he's still a quality player. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's bad. It's just out of the 3, you know, Denzel Ward is elite. I think Martin Emerson's in that, moving towards that category. So yeah, that's not a weak link. That's the guy I'm staying away from if I can.
I have a question now. It's a real question.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so there's been a lot to be made about the pass catchers not named CeeDee Lamb. We've got I still like Brandon Cooks, but I do understand where Brandon Cooks is in his career. How do you feel about that room after Lamb? Like, especially knowing, because that's something I think you can kind of exploit. Like, CeeDee's going to get his. Dude's going to get his. We know that. Prevent someone else from getting his, and I think it's something the Browns can take advantage of because of the corners. So my question is, how do you feel? How does everybody feel about that wide receiver room behind Lamb?
I think they got addition by subtraction. Early in the year last year, they were struggling a little bit in the passing game. You know, CeeDee Lamb, like you said, he's going to get his. They pretty much had this core last year and put up some insane numbers. But I think they're going to be better now with Michael Gallup being gone. Michael Gallup was great for a year or so, but he was the guy that Dak Prescott just forced the ball to way too many times. There was one game I think he threw it to him 10 times, and Gallup caught like 2 passes, and it was getting bad. And they finally benched him. And once they benched him, it was like the whole offense turned around. Brandon Cook started catching more. Jalen Tolbert did better. Kevontae Turpin got involved in there. Another 2 guys in there that you kind of could watch out for are going to be Jalen Brooks and Ryan Flournoy. They're both, pretty talented. They don't have, Brandon Cooks to me is a borderline number 2. If CD Lamb were to go down, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. But as long as Lamb's healthy and he's out there and you're focusing all that energy on him, these other guys can get some stuff done. And I think a lot of people are really overlooking Jake Ferguson. He had a phenomenal season last year, and I think he is on the verge of really breaking out. So I think the receiving game will be fine, again, as long as they can keep the defense honest with a little bit of a run game. They don't need to have an elite run game, but if they at least, have a threat of a run game to where the defense has to worry about that. I think you're fine with a committee approach as long as you have that legit number 1, which is what CD Lamb is.
Nope.
Start over.
Yep, try again.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Randy, I was going to ask you, first I was going to talk to you about Jake Ferguson, but you've already covered it. So I was going to ask you a little bit about the defense, just because I think Dan Quinn very notably helped turn that unit around and turn them into the they've been a dominant defense in the NFL in the recent years. And I'm just curious to know, like obviously you had the unfortunate injury leading up to the season, but I'm just curious to know, with a new coordinator coming in and the defense as it is, where do you see this unit being this year?
So one thing, and I'm glad you brought this back up, because I was kind of thinking about it when Casey was talking about the earlier game when they played in 2020, and that was a phenomenal game. A lot of fun to watch, but what Browns fans cannot do is go into this game and think just because Mike McCarthy was the head coach then, and some of the defenders are the same, that is the same thing. Mike Nolan was a defensive coordinator then, and he was not a good defensive coordinator anymore. So anything that happened in that game, it's gone. Don't even think about it. Dan Quinn, you're absolutely right. He did a phenomenal job turning it around, but there was one area where Dan Quinn was just awful, and that was stopping the run. Maisie Smith, they draft him in the first round, and Dan Quinn has the brilliant idea to have him lose 30 pounds and become a 3-tech. So he's got, I think, 27 3-techs on the defensive line, and none of them can rush the passer, and none of them can stop the run. And then that's why Jordan Love was talking about, they looked at, we had Marquise Bell out there as a linebacker who's a defensive back, and they said, we knew we could just pound the rock all day, and they did. So that was Dan Quinn's one flaw, is he did not put enough attention on stopping the run, which is, we saw that with Joe Woods for years, how detrimental that could be. Mike Zimmer, old school guy, very, very, savvy football mind, kind of curmudgeony and grouchy, but brings in Jordan Phillips, who's 335 pounds, puts Mozzie Smith back to, his normal weight, has him playing 1-tech, brings in Linval Joseph, who, might be 70 years old, but he can still play in spurts. I think that what you're going to see from this defense is they will have much more of a focus on trying to stop the run. So I don't think you're going to see, the Browns just running all over on them. They're going to try to force them to pass the ball, which is the right thing to do, because Deshaun Watson has not proven that he can play a consistent game yet. So I think that's what you can kind of see with Mike Zimmer. I think you're going to see him try to win at the line of scrimmage a lot more than what Dan Quinn was able to do.
So when you look at the style of play from the defensive backs in years past, they were pretty aggressive. I think, Diggs had 11 picks 2 years ago. Bland, I think he had 9 and 5 or 6 touchdowns.
15 touchdowns last year.
It was feast and famine. I think he also gave up 4 touchdowns, and it was a feast or famine. Do you think it'll be a safer approach under Zimmer, or do you think he'll still encourage that aggressive nature from his defensive backs?
I think you're going to still see the aggressive nature, because one of the, they lost a lot of coaches that, kind of defected with Dan Quinn, which typically happens. But the one guy that they kept, promoted him to assistant head coach, was Al Harris. And Trevon Diggs will always give Harris crap, for his career with the Packers, said since Al Harris could never intercept any passes, he forces us to do it all the time. So I think because Al Harris is still there and he's still coaching that secondary, I think you're going to still see a lot of that gamble. And it cracks me up when people will, the feast or famine, and they get, Trevon Diggs is terrible, Deron Bland is terrible because they gave him touchdowns. I'm like, you know what? I don't give a shit. I'd rather the team get a gig touchdown, get my offense back, and take that chance, because you see what a game changer it is when that defensive back takes it 70 yards and runs it back for a touchdown. I mean, that's a killer. Troy Aikman was the one who said it, something about people are always talking about, shut down corners, you don't throw at this guy, whatever. He said he never cared about a guy like that. He said, I don't care. You take away half the field, whatever. I just won't throw it over there. Who I'm not throwing at is Deion Sanders because he's going to go score a touchdown on me. So those are the defensive backs that quarterbacks don't like because they could completely change the game. So I don't think that's going to change too much. Again, it seems like the big focus is that Zimmer's kind of bringing is that front seven. You see, they got Eric Kendricks, brought in some new linebackers, and they're kind of focusing more on being stronger in the front seven than what they were under Dan Quinn.
I think something that a lot of Browns fans are kind of like hung up on in this offseason was trying to figure out which Cowboy could actually beat me in Madden. So my question is, which Cowboy could beat me in Madden?
You in particular?
Yes, me.
Probably.
We're all worried about it.
Yeah, probably Micah Parsons because he seems to be the one that's, into the video
probably
games
kicked
more.
my ass.
Yeah. And there may be others that I don't know about. I know he's one of the ones that I always see going to the tournaments and stuff. So yeah, he might be the one to watch out for. But you never know. Maybe Mike Zimmer's a ringer, and he doesn't.
Oh, he's that guy that hustles you at a party. He's like,
yeah.
What's this, PlayStations 5? What is this? And then he just drops 100 on your head.
And he would probably have the most old school approach ever where it'd be 48 rushes and 2 passes or something like that. You just wouldn't be able to stop it.
Pull out the wishbone.
Yeah, that bastard.
I got another Zimmer question here. So he's been out of the NFL since 21. He's been a defensive analyst for Coach Prime at Jackson State in Colorado. So when he left, it wasn't the predominant too high shell that we're seeing now. So have you seen them implement that since he's been back? Has he adopted that, or are we going old school single high?
I think that it looked like they're going to the too high, but it's so hard to tell from the preseason because everything's so vanilla. But I think that from what I could tell, it looks like Al Harris still has a big hand in what the secondary is doing. So I'm not going to say they're going to do the exact same thing, but I could see them definitely switch it up a little bit more. But I think you'll still see some of that base, some of what these guys were comfortable doing before Zimmer got there.
I know we're kind of bouncing around here.
That's what we do.
It is.
I see MC's got a good question. He says, what's the ideal run pass split that the Browns should be looking at to win? And I think
90% pass, 10% run.
60.
Really? He's ready.
Hey,
no, that's I'm being facetious. Not that much.
I don't think I would be lying if I said that I thought the Browns were just going to come out and turn Deshaun loose. Like my assumption is that they're going to come out conservatively and they're going to try to run the ball against Dallas. I don't know. What do you guys?
You know what makes me laugh? Sorry, Jacob, to cut you off there, but I just got to say this because there's this whole philosophy that Kevin Stefanski doesn't run the ball enough. They're 4th in the NFL last year in attempts. Like, he runs the ball. He runs the ball all the time.
All the time.
All the time. So, yeah, I think you're going to see – I think was it you, Jacob, that said the 60-40 split?
I said 69.
Okay. So I think you're going to see probably, I think you're going to come out and try to establish the run. If the run's not going great, it might be about 60% pass, 40% run. But, yeah, I think Stefanski wants to be 50-50. I think he wants to be, I think this whole, he just throws the ball too much thing. People just, they catch on to 1 or 2 plays and just kind of forget about all the other stuff that's really gone on. But I do think that they're going to try to establish the run and get that going.
There's like,
Oh no!
Sorry,
it's kicking in. We're losing them.
It's there's like the reasoning, like the rational person that I am tells me the 60-40 split, but there's like this. I just have this wild ass feeling that they're gonna try to push the ball vertically out of the gate. Like, I don't know what that looks like. Is that Jerry Jeudy? Is that Elijah Moore? What does that look like?
I don't hate that, though. And I'll tell you why, because you don't want to abandon them. I'm not saying you go out there and you just chuck it, and never run. But let's be honest, Jerome Ford didn't light the NFL on fire last year. He had, I think it was 8 runs that accounted for 30% of his yardage last year. And if you took those 8 runs out, it was less. It was like 2.5 yards per carry. I have an article on it. It's insane how bad of a runner he was for the majority of the year. He is a feast or famine running back. And I think you get him going by backing off the secondary. He's not a guy who's going to go out there and be a Nick Chubb. You're not going to get him to be Nick Chubb. He's not going to run the ball 20 times and, get the defense to worry about the run and then south the pass. I think you can kind of do it in reverse, though. So I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue with going out there and attacking, Kalen Carson, who's a rookie, see what he can do. Go out there and take on, another thing people haven't mentioned near enough. Trevon Diggs has not played since week 2 of last year. This is his first game back with it since tearing his ACL. Throw it at him, see what he's got. Test these guys, and then if you start to back the secondary up, that's when you can get Jerome Ford to hit these home run plays. I don't have a problem using Ford that way. I don't think you use him as a bell cow. He's not Derrick Henry. He's not Nick Chubb. He's not one of those guys. But he is a dude that if you've got that passing game going and people are focused on that passing game, he can kill you on the third down receptions. He can get when he gets free in the past the defensive line into the linebacker secondary, he can hit those home run plays. And I think that's what you look for with him rather than just let's pound it up the middle and get 2 to 3 yards every play.
I think just from my own Browns perspective, what I'm looking for most is how the offense looks different. What the Browns try to do differently to get Deshaun to that, like let's say you're right, Jacob, and the Browns come out slinging the ball, right? Like what is it that they use to try to really get Deshaun going? Because that's probably I think when you're talking Browns offense, outside of the elephant in the room with the tackle situation, probably the next biggest question is what does this Dorsey influence look like on the offense?
Yeah, I just realized that I didn't do my parlay for tonight.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to make you guys help me pick a parlay.
Okay. So selfish. He doesn't even want to answer the question. He wants to make it about himself.
What was the question?
I'll answer the question. I think what Dorsey really did well with Cam Newton and Josh Allen is he helped them to kind of merge their mobility and passing. So he was Cam's quarterback coach in 2015 when Cam won the MVP. He was Josh Allen's quarterback coach when Allen kind of had the 41 touchdown passes. So I think he's really good at figuring out what these guys can do. And instead of just going, hey, you go out there and do what we tell you to do. You go out there, you drop back, take 3 steps, 5 steps, whatever. He's going to, he'll implement some of the RPOs. He'll implement stuff that gets Deshaun Watson comfortable. Because if you've watched Watson in the last couple of years, nothing has frustrated me more than watching him just run around like he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He seemed very, very uncomfortable in that. And I don't know if it was the pass rush. I don't know if it was unfamiliarity. But he was just, I'm sure you guys noticed it too. It's just happy feet. He got the ball and he's bouncing all over the place. And it didn't seem like there was a plan. So I'm hoping that what you get with Dorsey is that he'll help him use that athleticism and that talent and actually formulate a plan rather than just winging it.
For me, I don't want to see him turn his back to the defense. I don't think the play action game suits him. He needs to be a shotgun, seeing everything. That's how he's played since high school.
That's why I love the RPO idea with him. Keep his eyes focused down the field. Let him do that, and I think you'll see more of that with Dorsey.
Yeah, it felt very square peg, round hole with
absolutely.
Deshaun Watson a lot of times. And because you could just see how different it was when Joe Flacco hit the field for the Browns last year. It was the first drive was a touchdown. It just the whole thing, you could just see that Flacco and Stefanski's offense were 2 peas in a pod, and it's just never felt like that with Deshaun. And so that I think Kevin deserves a lot of kudos for recognizing that changes need to be made, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they decide to alter, because there's clearly a good foundation in Stefanski's offense, but it just needs to change a little bit to maximize Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and I think that's where Dorsey comes in. And there's a lot made about the play caller, who's going to call the plays. The play caller doesn't really matter that much because you're going to make up the game plan throughout the week. You're working together for it. So once it comes and you're making that play call, Stefanski has a good feel. He knows how to call plays. If Dorsey was calling the plays, I don't think it's going to be any different. I think it's going to be similar plays, same kind of plan and everything. But I think the most important thing, Dorsey's work is going to be up until Sunday, where he's just working with Watson, getting him comfortable, and kind of bridging that gap between him and Stefanski and making that offense kind of mesh together a little bit more.
Let me ask you guys this. Because a lot was made about this, I think, when Dorsey was hired. But they ultimately talked about it this week and confirmed John Dorsey, good Lord. Ken Dorsey.
Buddy boy.
Yeah, football guy.
I saw a bunch of tweets about how Andrew Berry ruined what John Dorsey built this week.
Yeah.
That was the thing I saw this
That
week
was,
on Twitter.
That was.
I saw that.
Sashi Brown laid it up for Dorsey. He slammed it home, and then Barry came in and fucked it all up.
Just
damn you, Andrew.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah. 2 playoff appearances in the last 4 years when we only had 1 before that in 20 years. What are you doing, Andrew?
No
Get your shit together.
Was there was not a Dorsey winning season, right? Like they didn't. No, they didn't. He didn't have a single.
7-8-1 and 6-10.
Yeah, 7-8-1.
And Freddie Kitchens.
Yeah, so yeah, the 6-10. I was thinking it was 7-8.
What the hell?
Let's draw plays in the dirt and see what happens.
That's right.
My favorite Freddie Kitchens story was that he would throw the game plan out on Sunday morning.
And he hated Todd Monken, right? Like we can agree, like he was sabotaging that dude's play. Like like just how Randy said, his job was to design shit through the week and then hand it off and be like, "Here's your thing," and he was like,
right, and then we're like, "Oh man, Todd Monken sucks." He goes to Georgia. Goes to Georgia, and all of a sudden they can play offense again.
I was at that game in 2018 when Nick Chubb ran like the 92-yard touchdown to beat Atlanta. And, man, that was such a good game.
Yeah.
But then, like, Kitchens was the play caller. Greg Williams was the interim head coach. But it was like every now and then Freddie would do something. Where I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
that diamond backfield with Hilliard.
Dontrell Hilliard throws an interception. I was like, where did that come from? You're running the ball down their throats. Nick Chubb is getting like 40 yards a carry. So, like, I know what to do. Let's get in the wishbone and have Dontrell Hilliard air one out. Like, what was that? Like, man, I was so confused.
I don't even know what my original point was.
We're in the weeds here. The thing I will never forget about Freddie Kitchens is he decided it was a good idea to wear Pittsburgh started it on his shirt after that Myles Garrett conflict.
And went in public and took pictures with people.
And I couldn't believe how many people argued with me, like on Twitter, when I was saying, I don't have a problem if a player does that. I don't have a problem with a lot of the people doing that, but your head coach cannot give that image. And people, that doesn't mean anything. But yeah,
Randy,
it really
he
does.
gets us. He gets us,
true.
Randy.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Gave Baker that like chin stroke the one time, and everybody was like, "Yep, this is the pairing for the future."
And Baker literally go back and watch it. He goes, "I fucking hate that guy." That was his exact. And now we thought that was a joke. No, I don't think it was. I think he really did hate that guy.
Yeah.
I wish I could ask Baker that. I'd be like, Baker, I want to ask you one Browns question. I promise it won't piss you off.
No, mine be about the Cheesecake Factory.
We all
Hey,
know.
man. Cheesecake sounds really good right now.
Okay.
Let's build this parlay, Jacob.
We're building.
Yeah. Let's go back to your parlay.
Build the parlay and then
from
finish on game predictions. What do you say?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Do we want to do a passing yardage for Deshaun Watson or a passing yardage for Dak Prescott? Let's pick one of those.
The first one scares the shit out of me.
What's the over and unders?
Well, I got alt pass line, so I can pretty much put it at anything.
Okay.
I don't know that I want to. Well, okay. If you're locked into betting on,
I think we should do one of them. One of them should be the first leg of the parlay.
Okay.
You can pick two, and I'll start telling you odds.
What's Dak? Okay, so I don't need. I want to know what the actual line for Dak Prescott's passing yards is.
Well, when I bring it up on FanDuel, it doesn't tell me.
Okay.
It just has alt passing yards. But I will say it's probably so for Dak to have 250 plus yards, it's minus 114.
Wow.
So
okay,
I would
so they're
say,
expecting Dak to pass pretty successfully.
Oh yeah, they it's only plus 168 for him to have 275 plus yards.
For Dallas to win, I think Dak's gonna have to be really good. Pass for like 300 plus for Dallas to win.
But what do you want to pick for this?
Sorry. What do you guys think? Randy, what do you think? Do you think Dak's gonna have a good day?
I do. I think he's
Randy didn't get the memo that Dak sucks.
No, I didn't. I think it was 6 more wins that he needs, and he'll have the most wins like in franchise history.
Wow.
He's already, I think he's second behind Tony Romo and could pass him this year He's way better than he gets credit for.
Is he 31? Is that how old he is? Is he
30? I think he's 30. He might be 30, 31. He's in that. He's right around there.
Another 8 seasons, man. That's insane.
Yeah, and I mean,
31.
Again, I don't understand the hate. But I do. I think he's going to have to air it out a lot. I think it's going to come down to CeeDee Lamb. If CeeDee Lamb's ready to go, without being there in the training camp or anything. But I think he'll be above the 250. I think he'll be flirting with 300.
250. Okay. All right. We'll do 250.
Yeah, I'm in.
Do 250. Okay.
And I think he's just going to have to, because even though I do like Dowdle, I don't think that.
I found it.
That's going to.
I found it. Hold on. I found the actual lines.
I'm guessing it's 238. I was going to say 246.
It's 249.5.
Okay, so we're right there.
I would go. I think he's.
Watson's is 213.5.
It's probably about accurate, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's a tough one, because again, you don't know what you're going to get with Watson, but I think that their defense is good enough that if they have a good game and they can keep Dallas from scoring, ideally you're keeping Watson around 200 passing yards or under. We've all said it that this team can win with just average quarterback play. So that's really all you need from Watson. Right. You don't want to ask too much of him.
213 would be about average.
Yeah.
I'll take over 249.5.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's look at the rushing yardage. Okay. Zeke's this is actually really interesting. Okay. So Zeke's over under is 30.5. Jerome Ford's over under is 49.5. Dax is 11.5.
What about Foreman's?
That's my question, Nick.
Foreman's not on there.
What's
not on there?
Watson's over 20.5, and Rico Dowdle is over 31.5.
I'm taking Watson.
I want Watson. Over 20.5.
20 yards?
I would agree. I think Watson
2 scrambles.
30, 40 yards. Probably.
2 scrambles. That's all I need.
Yeah.
And if you've listened to, for whatever it's worth, if you've listened to Deshaun at all this offseason, he doesn't seem to think that he was putting himself in danger, and doesn't seem to think that he's a high risk for injury.
He doesn't like that fragile. Those fragile comments.
No.
That's for sure.
If Deshaun means anything, he said he's running this year. He's still running.
And just the RPOs. Like if he pulls 1 out of every 4 or 5.
Just protect yourself. You can run.
I was going to say, didn't the injury happen on a passing play? If I'm not mistaken, I feel like he got. Like I think he does. I mean, I think he is fine at protecting himself when he runs. I think it was the pass rush, which he, like I was talking about earlier, he just never seemed comfortable with that offensive line.
The initial Tennessee injury happened on a run.
I was watching Lamar Jackson play last night, and like there were a couple times he had to take hits, but you can tell he's gotten really good at protecting himself. And I'm like, man, if I was Kevin Stefanski, I would sit him down and put on Lamar Jackson's tape from last year and last night and be like, this is how you protect yourself if you're going to run the ball.
Quick caveat, though. If Jackson plays like that the rest of the season, he ain't making it the rest of the season.
No, I agree. I mean, he can't.
But he's great at taking glancing blows. He doesn't take solid shots. The last dude I seen get a solid shot on Lamar Jackson was Mike Ford.
God, he destroyed him.
That was the only problem.
And then he's got an interception on him like 2 plays later.
Yeah, he did. And then he sucked. And he gave up a touchdown every day, but whatever.
Here's your over-under receiving.
Okay.
These get interesting. CD is at 82.5. Amari's at 57.5.
Come on.
Oh, no, it gets better. Jerry Jeudy's at 38.5.
Okay.
David Njoku, 41.5.
You know what that is, don't you?
Watson sucks.
It's the Watson effect.
Yeah. Jake Ferguson, 40.5. Jerome Ford, 14.5.
Oh, man. You got to get the over on that.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks, 36.5. And Jalen Tolbert, 18.5. I will take that Jerome Ford 14.5. But is there any other ones on there that we want?
Jerry Jeudy.
There's
going to be a concerted effort to play quick game, and he's going to be the guy in the quick game, and he's just going to get the opportunities.
Jerry Jeudy said that he needs to put up numbers like some of the other guys he got drafted with.
Yeah.
You know,
His boys are killing it.
Yeah, he might be talking about Henry Ruggs because I don't think he's going to put up Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb numbers. Sorry.
Is it crazy
Jalen
that
Reagor.
I also want over 41.5 for David Njoku?
I don't know if he's going to get down. He's going to just hang out the line of scrimmage
I'm
and
worried
block.
about him having a block.
I'm worried about him being the blocker.
Here's my issue with David Njoku is I really hope that while Deshaun Watson was out last year, he was watching the games and realized that when you throw the ball to David Njoku, good things happen.
Yes.
Because he did not get him the ball near enough. And it was like when Flacco came in, it was just like, it's 3rd and 48, so I'm going to dump it off 4 yards to Njoku, and he's going to go run a first down with it. Like, I don't understand why Watson just doesn't throw it to him more. So I think that's where you're seeing that 41 yards. He's definitely capable of it. You just got to get the damn quarterback to throw him the ball.
The only thing that scares me is I think he's going to be blocking a lot. I think he's going to stay in. It's all going to be dump offs because he's not going to be running routes. It's going to be like outlet stuff.
But I still think even if you're hitting him on those chip blocks and then dumping it off to him, he could pick up 40 yards.
Yeah.
If you throw
his yak ability is off the charts.
Yes. The problem is, will Watson actually do it? He seems like he's allergic to tight ends.
This is totally unrelated, but I want to get all of your opinions on it. I'm reading right now on Twitter that they're saying that Justin Fields is likely to start for the Steelers on Sunday. Does he, at any point this year, surrender that job to Russell Wilson?
Yes.
They're going to start? I thought
he's hurt.
He's hurt.
Russ strained his calf pushing a sled like a month ago, and just yesterday he reported tightness, and then he didn't practice today, and Fields did, so he's listed. Russ listed as questionable. Fields and this game is in Atlanta, so he's going home, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the weird one.
Man.
And I think Arthur Smith can get Justin Fields to play. Like, I think that's the kind of quarterback he's been looking for.
I mean, I may be the weird one, but I would take Justin Fields throwing left-handed and blindfolded over Russell Wilson.
Let him cook, Randy. Let him cook.
I mean, Russell Wilson has talent. He obviously does. But I think if a team doesn't believe in your quarterback, they don't have faith in that quarterback, they don't, follow him as a leader, they ain't going to go
like him as a person.
Right. And that's the problem with Russell Wilson is he thinks he's better than the team. He had his own locker room or whatever in Denver, like the weird shit he was doing on the planes with the workouts. Like there's only one man in Russell Wilson's world, and I think that the team's just going to tune him out. And Justin Fields played fine last year in Chicago. I thought he played really well. Like I don't understand.
If you're Justin Fields, how pissed are you that they get rid of you and then they give the new quarterback everything he needs?
Everything under
My
the
God.
Dunze, Keenan Allen. They gave him fucking everything.
Fields had DJ Moore last year and played a whole lot better. And then they were like, okay, well, you still weren't good enough, so we're going to trade you. And now let's get a Dunze. Let's get Keenan Allen. Let's get Gerald Everett as get you a good tight end too. You know what else we should do? Let's get DeAndre Swift.
I was going to say, don't forget Swift.
If I'm Justin Fields, I'm going, you're all assholes. Like, what was this?
Right.
Our 4-leg parlay plus 1,061. If you put $5 down, you win 53.
Okay. Ooh. So what are the 4 selections?
So, I already hit it, so now I got to go find it. Dak Prescott over 249.5 passing yards. Watson over 20.5 rushing yards. Ford over 14.5 receiving yards. And Jerry Jeudy over 38.5 receiving yards.
I like that.
Only Prescott's is even that good of a day. Like everybody else, they're kind of very marginal.
Like whatever.
21 rushing yards for a rushing quarterback. Okay. 15 receiving yards for a dude that'll catch at least 5 dump offs on Sunday, and Jerome Ford. Like he'll catch it if he averages. What is that? If he gets 5 of them, he needs to average 3 yards a dump off, and then he hits the over. And Jerry Jeudy 38.5. So that's one explosive play.
Randy just wrote an entire article.
He probably did.
He's a.
He's 40. I was just looking at 44 receptions last year, 319 yards, 7.3 average for Ford.
That's two receptions.
He's much better. I don't know where they got those numbers from. I feel like he's
the Watson tax. You said it. It is what it is. It's the Watson tax.
But in that situation, I feel like that's probably what play into Ford's favor because he's going to dump it off to him.
For reference, I just did some quick math. Ford averaged 19 yards receiving a game last year, and that's
12 was the,
Ford averaged 19 yards receiving per game last year.
Okay. And it was 14 and a half was the line.
That feels and now like he's coming out as just the running back one in the system. Like don't get me wrong, I think Foreman could end up being the lead back, but I very much believe they're going to start with Ford.
Game prediction.
The passes though are going to Ford. I mean,
Yeah.
Foreman's that between the tackles guy. He's going to be what Kareem Hunt was last year, but probably a little quicker. Hunt has just been so beat up by then. But yeah, and against a team like Dallas, they're going to have to throw it to the running back a lot to kind of keep Micah Parsons off their tackles there. So I think that's probably one of the safest bets on there.
Before we do our game predictions and bounce, so that we can watch real football. That's right, real football on a Friday night.
11 minutes.
Do you know if you rewatch How I Met Your Mother, you won't hate the ending as much the second time?
Really?
Yeah, because like when you think about why you hated it the first time, it was because you built over a decade towards this, and then you just shit on the whole entire concept in the finale. You just shit on the entire show. But if you watch all 9 seasons like I did in about 3 weeks, you didn't have as much buildup to the shit, and I was able to accept it. Browns win 23-17.
I've never watched a single episode of How I Met Your Mother. Browns 20-13.
But everybody knows that Casey's a Barney.
I've watched it, and I'm still pissed about
Barney.
the ending.
Casey's Barney.
I've watched it, and I'm still pissed about the ending. 24-17 Browns. I was originally saying 28. I'm moving it to 24. A couple field goals.
I have not watched it either, but I do know what you mean because I was one of the people that was late to Game of Thrones, and I did not hate. Now the ending was not great. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't hate it as much as anyone else because I think I didn't have.
You hadn't been watching.
I had like a month. I had like a month and a half or whatever it was, and it wasn't like 10 years of my life building up to it. So I get what you're saying, Jacob. You guys will hate me.
What?
Cowboys 31-28.
Okay.
What?
So you're taking the over. I think the over-under in that game's 42.5.
Yeah.
I see it being a super defensive struggle in the first half and maybe some.
I do too.
Some scoring in the second half.
So, okay. So we have all predictions here. Randy, we appreciate you. Before we get out of here, let the people know where they can find you.
You can find me on SI.com, where I cover the Cowboys, and on Dog Pound Daily, where I cover the Cleveland Browns.
Hell yeah.
And I pop up on a few other things on Fansided every now and then. I actually do cover occasionally the Packers and the Eagles, so that'll make tonight kind of interesting.
There we go.
A man of many talents.
That's
I'm
right.
about to dive into an absolutely loaded running back class this weekend.
Some Ollie Gordon.
Oh, I love Ollie Gordon, but Gentry, man, dude, run
I
for
like
like
a Marion Hampton as well at North Carolina. He's not bad.
yes, yeah.
Let me ask one question, and then we get out of here, Nick. Randy, what are you smoking this weekend?
I got some massive turkey legs, drumsticks. Like I'm talking like this thing. There's my hand. It's like that big.
Let's go.
Yeah, I made cheeseburger spring rolls tonight. Was tonight's dinner, but yeah, it'll be
there in 2 hours.
Yeah. Hey, anytime. I also am going to be doing Southern mac and cheese, it's got like a Greek
You talked about this. You've told me that.
Yeah, it's got like this Greek seasoning, and it's a mix of mozzarella and cheddar, and it will change your life. But yes, anytime, Casey, you tell me, and I'll have it ready.
Hell yeah. Well, we appreciate you, Randy. We're going to see where this all goes. I can't believe it's here. I can't believe we're watching more football tonight on Friday. Thank you to everybody for being here. Please click that subscribe button. We're giving away a Browns jersey at 1,000 subscribers. We had people from Scotland, Steelers fans, all kinds of our normal Browns fans. You all mean a lot to us. Thank you. With that being said, this has been the final Barking Browns episode before Browns football. Nick, he's Randy. That's Jacob. He's Casey. 2 more sleeps. Go Browns.
I would have gotten all the points wrong.
He's a killer. He's a killer.